So the history of Stranahan's actually starts with a guy named Jess Graber. Jess Graber was this really interesting character from a small town up over west called Woody Creek, Colorado, up there by Aspen. And he moved here in the 70s. He wanted to be a mountain man. He actually started moonshining as well in his spare time. George Stranahan was an entrepreneur. He had a lot of things going on. He owned a brewery called Flying Dog Beer. Time passes, they're hanging out, they're drinking more, and he tries again. He says, George, come on, we have to do this. But what if we took your last name and put it on the bottle and called it Stranahan's? Water is used in really every step of this process, and water is really important for us. Luckily, we do have great Colorado water here. I think Colorado water is some of the best in the country, and so that's a really big benefit that we have. Conservation is definitely a never-ending topic in distilleries, right? It is one of the biggest pain points for us because being used in every single part of the process, it's really important that we reuse water whenever possible, especially for things like cleaning and sending it down the process as much as possible. We also use water in energy efficiency, right? So we're taking the hot, spent, basically water, right? The hot spent wash coming out of that distillation process, running that through a heat X and running the new wash coming in through the other side. And doing that, we're taking the energy from that spent wash to heat up the new wash coming in to save on some of that energy and put a little bit of ease on our boiler system as well. So that's one way we conserve water. We're also always watching in how we're using water to clean and making sure that we're using more short pressurized spurts instead of long drawn out water uses. We're also going to reuse that clean water as much as possible. So El Dorado is actually, I believe, the second best tasting water in the world right now, which is pretty awesome. It's a great water, and we get a bunch of 5-gallon jugs of that water. We're actually going to open one by one and use that water to cut our whiskey from that barrel strength down to bottle strength. That part is really important with what water you use, because that's really going to be a flavor addition, right? You want water that is clean, pure, and tastes great, because you're going to get a lot of that water in your final product. Localization is everything. Terroir is very important in whiskey. Where you pull your grain from matters, where your water comes from matters. Your location is really going to speak to the whiskey that you make. And luckily here in Colorado, here in Denver, we have great water, we have great access to barley. It really is a good place for what we do. And our altitude and elevation and our climate really just adds to our whiskey.